So back in 2018, India kicked off this massive, ambitious overhaul of its entire medical education system. But this wasn't just, updating some textbooks. This was a fundamental rethink of what a doctor should be. It was about designing the doctor of the future right from square one. So let's dive into the master plan for how India is training its next generation of physicians.
I mean, really think about that. That's pretty much the question that drove this whole revolution. The goal wasn't just to churn out people who could memorize a ton of medical facts. It was about creating graduates who could actually, effectively, and compassionately serve the real health needs of the country. And it all started with a blueprint.
And when you're making a blueprint, the very first thing you have to do is define what you're building, right? So they had to answer the question, what does the ideal Indian medical graduate, the IMG, actually look like? What are all the different hats they need to be able to wear in the community?
Now, take a look at this. The first thing that probably jumps out at you is that clinician is just one of 5 equally important roles. This is huge. The new curriculum is specifically engineered to build doctors who aren't just great at diagnostics, but who are also leaders, great communicators, people who never stop learning, and true professionals. It's about the whole package.
Okay, so if you're gonna build this new kind of doctor, the old way of teaching just wasn't gonna cut it. The entire philosophy had to change. It used to be all about memorization, just knowing things. The new way, it's all about competency. It's about proving you can actually apply that knowledge. It's a massive shift from just knowing something to actually doing it.
And this whole shift is built on a framework called Miller's Pyramid. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a ladder that every single student has to climb. It's not enough to hang out on the bottom rung, just knowing the facts. You have to climb up to knowing how to use them. Then you have to show you can do it, maybe in a simulation, and finally reach the top, shows how, where you're actually performing that skill with a patient, under supervision. The goal is to get every student to the top of this pyramid for every critical skill. So competency is the big buzzword here, but what does it actually mean? Well, the official curriculum defines it like this. And you can see, it's not just one thing. It's the seamless blend of everything. Your knowledge, your skills, how you communicate, your values, all of it, used every single day for the good of your patient and your community. That's the real target.
All right, so we've got the vision and the philosophy down, but how does this blueprint actually work, for a med student on a random Tuesday? Let's get into the mechanics of it and see how it all comes together using a real-world example. We're going to use meningitis as our case study. For those who don't know, it's a really serious infection of the membranes around the brain and spinal cord. And using this example, we can see how all those big, abstract ideas get turned into concrete, measurable goals for a student. Okay, I know. At first glance, this table looks a little intimidating. But trust me, this is the core instruction manual. This single line has the entire lesson plan baked into it. To understand it, we just need to break it down piece by piece. So let's do that. First up, the competency itself. It's asking the student to identify the etiology, which is just a fancy way of saying find the cause of meningitis. But here's the key, not from memory. They have to do it based on specific lab results, the CSF parameters from a patient's spinal fluid. So they have to use real data to figure it out. Next, check out the level SH, which stands for shows how. Remember Miller's Pyramid, that ladder we talked about? This tells us exactly where on the ladder this skill sits. The student can't just recite facts about meningitis. They have to actually demonstrate that they can analyze the data and make a call, performing the skill under supervision. It's all about application, not memorization. And finally, we have vertical integration. This part is actually brilliant. It means this lesson in, say, second-year pathology isn't just taught in a bubble. It's deliberately connected to future subjects like general medicine and microbiology. It makes sure the student sees right from the start how this piece of knowledge is going to be crucial later on in their clinical years. So that whole idea of integration that we just saw in that one little lesson, well, that's actually the key to the entire curriculum structure. It's not just about connecting a few dots within one topic. It's about connecting all the dots across the entire 4.5 years of medical school. You see, the old way often felt like learning in silos. You'd learn all your anatomy in one block, then move on. Then you'd learn all your physiology in another block, and so on. The clinical stuff, that came way, way later. The new way just smashes those walls down. You learn the anatomy of the heart at the same time as you learn how it functions.
This integrated approach helps students see the big picture from day one, which makes the information so much more logical and relevant to actual patients. So we've looked at the vision, the philosophy, the nuts and bolts of how it all works. Let's zoom out one last time and ask the most important question. Why? Why go through all this trouble? What's the ultimate impact this blueprint is trying to have?
I think this quote from the foreword of the curriculum document says it all, really. Every single detail we've talked about, the 5 roles, Miller's pyramid, the integrated learning, all of it serves one single ultimate goal: to create a competent Indian medical graduate who is truly ready and able to serve the community. At the end of the day, it's all about better patient care for everyone.
This new curriculum is designed to be a living, breathing document. It's meant to evolve. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final question, doesn't it? As medicine, technology, and society itself keep changing at a faster and faster pace, what will the blueprint for tomorrow's doctor look like?